Button on Richard Young. He, of course, is a very wealthy businessman. But some of these poker players, Roberts, they've seen good days and bad. They've been on some strong runs, but they've also, half of them, been skint. Is the fact that they're playing for so much money and they've got so much to lose going to make them play a little bit scared?
I think part of the field that would be true of, but the majority of this field has been in and out of money their entire life, and this is just another day at the office for them.
Chris Ferguson is going to like the way his office looks. He's got pocket kings.
Raise 14,000.
Raising in the small blind is enough to get rid of Juanda. Roland de Wolf has got a pocket pair. He's got sixes.
3 or 4 of those.
And wants to see a flop.
Feeling this flop.
Nobody else fancies it. So 2 players and
no, I'm
Ferguson a
still recovering.
4-1 favourite pre-flop.
Super
Nothing changes there. He's still way out in front.
Well, if there wasn't 2 spades out there, maybe Chris would try to check and play a little trappy. But I suspect right now he's going to go ahead and lead at this one.
Richard would jump in too, probably. Traps.
Yeah. You want a 22,000?
I have diamonds. He has hearts.
Roland has position, but he can't be in love with that flop. Chris is seen as a tight player generally.
Very conservative, we'll say. I don't know if I'd go so far to say tight, but Roland de Wolf gives him respect.
Good?
Yeah, good. Before lose a lot.
Oh, yeah. I can't play it.
Still hard to get your head around. These players have each invested $250,000 just to sit down.
Huh?
65.
Button is on Tony Bloom, who always has a pretty good time out in Australia. You rate him as a player, Robert?
Tell you what, even though you don't see much of Tony Bloom anymore, he's a busy man. He has got form. He's one heck of a player. Unfortunately, I've found that out the hard way against him.
Well, Tom Dwan has raised under the gun with 7 jack in diamonds.
And Tom Dwan is a very aggressive, active player, plays lots of hands. He's not going to get quite as much respect as other players would get in this position, raising under the gun.
23 and a half.
We raised to 23,500.
Richard Young made the call, and now Juanda has re-raised with the ace of clubs, 9 of hearts. So does Tom stop being creative now? Or having come this far, do you think he'll make the call?
Doesn't usually leave his children in the cold. I expect him to at least call here, or if he feels weakness, he might even play back at him.
When you go back to London? Early March. Cool.
He does make the call.
Cool.
Richard Young leaves the pros to it.
Do you have any idea what it's like in London?
And it comes down 3 clubs. That's a nut flush draw and middle pair for John Juanda. A gut shot for Tom Dwan, who checks it round.
Well, with over 50,000 in this pot already, we're definitely going to see some follow-up action from John Juanda. Especially with a made hand and a draw, so even if he is beat, he's got a redraw.
Giving it due thought and attention. Of course, we're playing under speed poker rules, so Juanda exercises his option to buy another 30 seconds. Is this all play acting to make it look like a really tricky decision?
Just a little bit. I mean, he really thinks he has the best hand and definitely the best draw. He wants, wow, wasn't expecting him to push all in.
The play acting has definitely stopped there. It's an all-in shove and an insta-fold from Tom Dwan.
I would have chosen red.
Been out about 10 minutes.
Button is on Nikolai Evdokov. Phil Ivey bumps it up with Big Slick. And Richard Young calls. He seems to be playing a lot of hands, Robert.
Well, that's his best chance of winning, especially in this type of format.
So get lucky fast is basically the only chance he's got.
Well, I wouldn't say it's his only chance. I mean, there's only 20 players in this field. But I will say this, that's, I think, his best road to payday of $2.5 million.
So who doubled up? Richard?
I don't know, not one and one.
Maybe they double up.
No.
Tony Bloom and Tom Dwan are also in this hand. But it has come down fairly smart for Ivy, who's made 2 pairs. Juanda has ace-jack.
Yeah, top pair and a good kicker. Definitely probably see a call from John Juanda. Don't think he'll get too spunky with Phil Ivey.
I like the way you hedged that. Definitely, probably.
Yeah.
You can tell you're a poker player.
Had a degree of certainty to it.
He calls Ivy's bet of 25,000. So we'll see 4-3. And that gives Ivy a full boat. Does he slow down now, Robert? Get trappy?
Yeah, he just about has to. He doesn't want it to look like he has what he has.
Well, it's gone check, check. And that 9...
That's definitely not a good card for John Juanda's hand. Now, any 9 or any king beats him. And he also loses to ace-queen. But the check on the turn might trick him into calling Phil Ivey.
75,000.
It's not going to be cheap to call. 75,000.
Yeah, with a starting stack of 250K, this is like a game changer, this kind of decision here.
Again, that clock ticking away. Really ramping it up on these players. First prize of $2.5 million. You don't want to be making mistakes.
Well, not only has the first prize being $2.5 million, but you'd be scratching your head for a long time saying, I just spent $250,000.
5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds.
And he makes the call.
I think this time clock came into consideration there. John Juanda might not have called that under normal circumstances, but speed poker got Phil Ivey paid off.
It used to be more fun. It did.
Button is on Chris Ferguson. Action on Russian businessman Nikolai Evdokov. He doesn't fancy it, nor does Roland de Wolf. Seems to be in a very good mood, Roland. Tom Dwan will be chirping up. He's got pocket 10s.
9,000. Raise to 9,000. Oh.
Kostritsin has pocket 7s.
9,000. Cool.
And Richard Young, who's played pretty much every hand, isn't going to let go of the ace-9 in clubs.
I don't think it had to be suited for Young to play it, but suited, he really isn't going to let that one go. In position as well.
Sounds good.
Well, he's rewarded by making top pair. Dwan, of course, has an overpair to the board.
Okay, let's flip the quarter. I'll do that for 300.
Yeah, this is a bad flop for Young.
What do you like a side now?
Be surprised if he doesn't get out of this hand with some damage.
Okay, so translate that.
You're too good.
26,000.
No, Kostritsin.
400? Okay.
Nothing for him there, really.
26,000.
Yeah, but that's a pretty dry board. I mean, there's a flush draw out there, but deuce 3-9 doesn't fit a lot of the high card type starting hands. I can't say that I blame him, even though you can see he definitely doesn't have the best hand. This is decision time for Young.
I'm gonna bet you like federal.
Does Young shove here or just call?
Okay, how much? Do you have
And
any
it is just the call.
Okay, I bet you.
So a nice pot builder there. Oh, my good lord. That has given a set of 7s to Kostritsin. Dwan picks up a flush draw with the 10 of diamonds.
And he still has an over pair to the board as well.
What's our figure?
Kostritsin will be trying to keep that grin inside his beard.
This is a very tricky spot for Tom Dwan's hand. And he bets a very tricky bet.
41,000.
That's a please don't raise me type bet. You know, it's kind of defensive of Tom Dwan.
Kostritsin has to raise here with no diamond in his hand.
Absolutely correct, Grub.
Đó đấy.
I know, I'm gonna make a call and bomb it. You better go ahead and
You've got 10 seconds.
we're getting really bad.
I haven't had a bet yet, but
5 seconds. 4 seconds. 3 seconds.
Oh well.
Well, he's enacted his time bank. I think more than anything for deception, he's got to decide, does Tom Dwan have a flush here? If he does, I have redraws. I suspect you're right. I think we're going to see a big bet from him. But he may take the lesser path.
Raise.
He does make it 125,000.
125,000.
That's virtually putting Tom Dwan all in if he was to call.
Remember, it cost him $250,000 to enter this tournament. 30 seconds to make a decision for that much money.
Too many times,
10 seconds.
Tom Dwan has the best hand here, or if he doesn't have the best hand, he definitely has a live draw.
5 seconds.
It's a tough one for him to fold,
3 seconds.
especially considering his stack size.
Well, he uses one of his time buttons. Only 3 get paid, so he may think it's death or glory.
And Kostritsin could be on a pair with a high diamond. So in that situation, Tom Dwan's a big favorite. But as we can see, Kostritsin has a set, and Tom Dwan is definitely a dog in
4
this
seconds. 3 seconds.
hand.
And he uses his final button. A minute and a half isn't normally too long to think about a poker hand, but that's the longest you can possibly get in speed poker.
Well, with his tournament life at risk, I can't say that I blame him for using his buttons in this situation. He may regret that later if he survives, but surviving's the key.
All
And
in.
he goes all in. It will cost Kostritsin almost nothing to make the call, so he does. And Tom sees that he needs to hit a diamond or a 10.
Tom Dwan's tournament life on the line.
His eyes can't wait to see the diamond, and there it is! And Kostritsin crushed.
67,500.
20 players started, 20 still remain. Join us after the break for more action here at the Aussie Millions.